Today, on the anniversary of his untimely passing, I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favorite albums by one of my all-time favorite artists, The Lovesick Hexology by Nujabes, featuring Shingo2. I know this series is called The Soundtrack of My Life, but with no other artist is set more true for me than Nujabes. Most of my music taste today, the artists and genres that I listen to, can probably be traced back to him in some capacity. I started listening to Nujabes in my early teenage years and was instantly mesmerized by his mellow beats crafted from samples of soul, jazz, funk, and Latin music, amongst many others, of course. Sometimes these would also be accompanied by his own piano recordings. I would continue listening to him well into my high school years, and now even in university, I'm writing entire papers about his work. I think what really draws me to Nujabes' music is the sonic experience of liminality it creates. And out of all of his works, I think this is best captured in The Lovesick Hexology. Some of you may already be familiar with the concept of liminality or liminal spaces. It's gained a pretty big following on the internet in the past couple years. Just search it up on YouTube and you'll find countless videos explaining the concept itself, liminality in music, video games, artworks, real life, and so on. But here's a quick rundown of what liminality is to me. So liminality can be understood as the state of being in transit. Not at the beginning, not at the end, but somewhere in between. This lack of a concrete foothold can be rather unsettling, invoking a feeling that something is not quite right, but it's difficult to place exactly what that is. So liminality is a concept that I resonate with greatly. I feel like my life is constantly in flux, and I'm always in between places, whether that be physical places or phases of my life and identity. Nujabes and Lovesick manages to capture this feeling, not in a way that's anxiety-inducing, but rather one that allows me to find solace and hope in the unknown. The album tells a love story, but not a conventional one. As Shingo2, the rapper over Nujabes' beats, has shared, the way lovesick is spelled, as in the Latin sick, for a misspelled quote, symbolizes how it wasn't a straightforward love song. There's a layer of obscured honesty. Now on to the album. The Lovesick Hexology is a story in 6 parts, all connected by a unifying theme and a shared drum sample, the same one that you heard earlier in the video. For me, the first part is an expression of love, raw and unbridled, only able to be felt by someone not afraid of getting hurt in pursuit of their heart's desire. This is reflected in the beat, which has a less enveloping melody and harmony compared to subsequent parts. Its interjecting sax samples and angular piano chords are more clearly disjointed and incoherent, like somebody stumbling over their words while rehearsing a confession. And then in part 2, a rising optimism, with our narrator now stepping up their pursuit of love with the hope that it will work out. The track is simultaneously melancholy yet upbeat, swaying back and forth with its entrancing sax sample. Personally, this is my favorite track in the album. Just have a listen. Part 3 is the climax, the experience of pure bliss from being in love, represented by its cascading piano and flowing woodwinds, equally if not more hypnotic than the part before. The energy in part 4 then starts to die down. We are now past the honeymoon phase, transitioning into a more somber period accompanied by an equally somber melody. The love is no longer as intense, but instead its peak is a fond memory. Lyrics here reminisce about a past which was sweeter, accepting that the highs are past. And then
everything is quiet.
Part 5 mourns the end of the relationship. It is no longer just somber, but expresses straight up anguish. This track doesn't just represent a relationship that is over, it also pays direct tribute to 2 of Shingo2's dear friends, Jeff Resurrection, who the track was originally made about, and Nujabes himself, who passed 2 months into its production. As the MC puts it himself, the finale is probably the most intense in the album, with a wailing hook and samples from earlier parts of the Hexology. It looks back at the journey, both the good and the bad, and learns to accept it and be grateful for all the experiences that it has brought. The album may tell a story, but it is not a straightforward one with a distinct beginning and end. It is a story that always repeats itself. It is about the cycle of love, reaching for it, attaining it, cherishing it, seeing it deteriorate, losing it, and then accepting it. This is something that everyone will likely undergo multiple times in their lives, a constant, ongoing process, and not a linear narrative. This is how the lovesick hexology sonically replicates liminality, this feeling of transition between various periods in life, not shying away from changes, but running towards them with open arms. It is about savoring the unknown, finding comfort in it, and that is why the lovesick hexology is part of the soundtrack of my life. Rest in peace, Nujabes.